Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Falk, Senior Solution Architect with BeyondTrust, and today we're going to take you through a quick overview of our modern PAM journey using the BeyondTrust platform. Let's start with a quick overview of what that is in total. So our platform works together to provide you the fastest time to value while being the most comprehensive modern PAM solution. Our customers have struggled with the lack of deep identity risk. They're struggling with visibility across the entire identity estate. Our value is to provide rapid remediation with zero standing privileges and just-in-time access while enabling secure remote access to our most important assets. We're bringing the advanced capabilities of the most sophisticated organizations and making them available for everyone via the BeyondTrust platform. The difference in BeyondTrust are the following capabilities in a single platform: deep identity risk assessment across the entire identity estate, rapid and simple deployment, uncovering existing paths to privilege, and identifying accounts and systems for just-in-time provisioning and session control. Let's start in the BeyondTrust platform in the Insights solution so we can start talking about the deep identity risk assessment and identifying accounts and systems for JIT provisioning and session control. Now we're in the Identity Security Insights solution, and we can see a bunch of numbers and stuff on the screen, but before we jump into those, let's understand where they're coming from, and that's at the connector level. The connectors are the pieces that are going to go out to the different identity providers, BeyondTrust solutions, and cloud solutions to collect things like accounts, entitlements, relationships, group memberships, permissions, even configurations and things like that to drive the identity data that we're seeing on the screen today. We'll start with simple things like how many accounts do you have and how many are dormant. We want to drive posture and hygiene throughout this whole solution. We'll also uncover things like true privilege. True privilege is a very unique concept to BeyondTrust. The idea of true privilege is there's things that can be directly attributed to your account, such as Active Directory Domain Admin or Azure Global Admin or Okta Super Admin. And then there's things that we may be able to access as an attacker, such as ownership of an Azure Service Principal or other things with OU ownership and such within Active Directory. So things that will actually give your account and identities privileges that may not be directly attributed to them. Let's start by looking at an identity first within the solution. So we're going to take a look at Amy Miller here. And we can see from Amy's identity, she's the highest direct privilege and true privilege within the environment. Once we scroll down here, we're going to see all of the accounts that we've crawled that make up the identity for Amy. Here we can see her Entra ID account, an AD account, Okta, AWS, Databricks, our PAM solution, Active Directory, another Entra ID account, Atlassian and GitLab accounts. The other thing that we're doing is applying labels to these accounts. The labeling is done automatically via AI and ML algorithms, and it's super powerful. It allows us to quickly highlight things like, is this a human or service account? Is this account dormant or disabled? External user, password, blank passwords, password collisions, compromised passwords, and even if we're managing these accounts with our PAM solution properly. So we can see here automatically some issues with the identity for Amy with dormant accounts and password collisions. The other thing that we're going to do is apply direct and true privilege to each of these accounts made up with the identity. One of the common problems that we see within the industry is that there's not a common language across privileges across these disparate platforms. And so one of the ways that we're looking to solve that is with this entitlements page here. Now we can quickly see what the true level of permissions and entitlements attributed to Amy are from one screen across the entire identity estate. One of the other things that we can do is also drive things like posture and hygiene based recommendations. Things like, oh, there's a managed account not managed by password safe properly, or Amy's got some dormant accounts, even to deep down things like Active Directory misconfigurations or things that will leave you open to privilege. We're also driving event-based detection, so we can see the different detections available if there were any for this identity. Now let's go back to the recommendations page for a moment. I want to uncover, or the entitlements page, I'm sorry. I want to uncover a path to privilege on Amy's identity here. One of the things that BeyondTrust Identity Insights is doing is uncovering paths to privilege, such as the following. And so let's take a look at this. Amy here is a user and has the directory role application administrator. We'll even highlight whether it's via eligibility or not, which can manage a service principal that has role management capabilities for global administrator. So now I can quickly see them on screen. An attacker could take advantage of this path to gain global administrator privileges in my environment. What about all the other paths available for this identity? Well, we have this AI and ML driven true privilege graph, and this is a pretty exciting feature. If we start from the left here, the topmost or the leftmost unit is the identity for Amy. And so once we go to the second level here, these are all the accounts and permissions on those accounts that are a member of this identity. So I can see here, here's Amy's AD account. It is highest permission. And then here's all the entitlements that come from that AD account, such as administrators. And we can see things like the account name that's linked to it, the location, whether it's a role or entitlement or et cetera. One of the other things that we're going to do actually is also highlight certain things like, oh, look here, in AWS, Amy's got an administrator access entitlement. Now think about it this way, that's something that's a great candidate to provision in a just-in-time fashion, and we'll take a look at that here in a moment. The path to privilege that I showed you a minute ago is also available within the true privilege graph via these orange links here. These orange links are every entitlement and permission that's assigned via directly or indirectly to Amy that could lead to administrative or higher level privileges or a path to privilege for an attacker. We're going to wrap up the identity security insights piece here and move into entitled to talk about just-in-time provisioning some of these standing privileges. The idea here is we want to enable zero standing privilege and just-in-time access everywhere possible with the BeyondTrust platform. So as we said during the previous portion with the insights, one of the things that we wanted to do was get holistic identity visibility. And with that visibility, we've identified some passive privilege and standing privileges for identities that can be abused by attackers. And so one of the things that we can do with entitle is we can actually go into entitle and search for that same user. So we're going to look for Amy here. And now we can pull up Amy Miller and the permissions table, and we actually have the ability to revoke some of these standing permissions that we see on the account. So things like the things that are giving us access to administrator roles in AWS, or even this EC2 access group here, we simply click revoke and then confirm that we'd like to do that. Now, let's envision a world where we have a properly provisioned user. And by that, I mean we have zero standing privileges and zero standing access. And we've enabled everything for just-in-time access via entitle. Let's take a look at a different user here through the lens of AWS. So now I'm logged in as my user, and you can see I have access to these two resources, Dev and Sandbox. It's important to note I only have view-only access to those resources at the moment. Again, zero standing privilege and just-in-time access. Now let's move back to title here, and we're going to go request access to those resources via entitle via just-in-time access. So now I can simply go down here, select AWS, and we're going to say we want to get access to administrator access through entitle. So I'll start back at AWS. So now let's take a look at a user that has been properly permissioned and provisioned and enabled for just-in-time access. So now we're taking a look at my AWS account. You can see I have access to these two resources, Dev and Sandbox, and I have view-only access. And so now what I can do as a user is I can go into entitle here and request access through our access request solution here. And I want access to this AWS admin bundle. Entitle has the concept of a bundle, which is going to bundle things together like roles and resources and other things. Let's imagine something like a DevOps function where I need access to multiple things and multiple permission levels, but I don't want to go make 20 requests to do that. The nice thing is we can put that all into a bundle. So I have my AWS admin bundle here. We're going to hit next. Let's say I need access for 1 hour, and we're going to do access EC2 machines. That's our request attestation. Now this will be auto-improved here in my demo environment. This can of course go through many approval processes and even things like on-call approval processes that adhere to a schedule. And so now I'm going to submit this request. This will be automatically improved. My request is going to go through. We can actually see entitle now going through and granting the access that I need. And in a few seconds here, I should have that administrator access to these two AWS resources just in time. And just like that, now we can see we are no longer view only. We now have administrator access to AWS as well. Now, the interesting thing here is now I've used entitled to JIT enable my account and JIT provision these permissions. But what about the access piece? If we want to actually access some machines in a JIT fashion as well. Well, now we have our PRA solution here via BeyondTrust platform, which is privileged remote access. The idea behind this is privileged or just-in-time access to your most privileged resources. And you can see here I have my jump groups on the left. And think of jump groups as basically folders of resources that I can access. And we can see we only have recently used personal and IT operations available so far. Let's go back into entitle and now request access to a group of systems here. So what I'm going to do is actually a new request, and I'm going to go down here to PRA, Privileged Remote Access by BeyondTrust. And what I'm going to select is Cloud Ops. I want access to that group of systems, and the role I want is to start sessions on them. So we started the session, or we selected Start Sessions. We're going to say we need 1 hour. And we're going to say access to EC2 machines. Review request. We're going to submit the request, which should be auto-approved. And here in just a few moments, you will see our new jump group available to us through the Privileged Remote Access console for access to those machines, which I have requested just in time through entitle. Once that access is available, we're going to be able to connect to these Linux machines here. They could be Linux, Windows, databases, any number of things really through Privileged Remote Access. The interesting thing here is I'm not even using a stored credential to access this machine. PRA is using an ephemeral SSH credential that's granted at time of connection and removed at time of disconnection. So now we're using our just-in-time access and an ephemeral connection. So think about it again, 0 standing privilege and 0 standing access to these systems. I can now log into the machine and do what I need to do and do my work, and we're all set. That's a very quick overview of the BeyondTrust solution. If you have any questions, please let us know.